Hello and welcome to our special election show, The Last Word with me, Justice Malala. We are now just 2 full days away from Election Day 2021. The politicians have been up and down South Africa talking to you, the voter. On Monday, you, the voter, will be king. The big question now is whether the Electoral Commission of South Africa can deliver its part of the deal and give us a free and fair election. My guest later on tonight is Lulu White, the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Elections Management Consultancy of Africa. But first, we look at how the parties presented themselves, how they ran their campaigns, and whether this was effective in communicating the most important message of an election: vote for me. My guest is Thebe Ikalafeng, founder and chairman of Brand Africa. Thebe is arguably the leading branding and reputation architect working in Africa and globally today. Thebe Ikalafeng, welcome to the show. It's lovely to see you. Let me ask you, Thebe, there was double the number of independents in this election. There were many more small parties. Then you had the big kahuna, the ANC and all the others. Did anything stand out for you in this noise that ran up to today and Monday?
Well, I think the thing that stands out to me is, there's two things. One is Herman Mashaba, Let's Fix South Africa. I think he may bring a surprise on the ANC and the EFF. But I think at the end of the day, it's same old as politicians, as politics go. So promises, and at the end of the day, very little delivery.
What was it about Mashaba that stood out for you, Thebe?
I think what Mashaba has been very strategic. He's picked a few areas where he wants to focus, and he's used a simple promise: let's fix South Africa. Because what's happening now, the country's broken. It's broken economically, it's broken health-wise, it's broken corruption and all those. And Herman says, let us fix it. So I think that works. The promises that are going to be difficult to deliver are the promises about jobs and about land, because we know that's impossible to deliver. I think EFF, while effective in their messaging, it's a very difficult, it's a tall order. South Africans have heard many years that we'll deliver 1 million jobs, we'll deliver 1 million houses. They know it's never going to happen. I think the thing that's been, of course, the other interesting thing is the ruling party going on an apology tour, if you will. And going around the country says, we apologize, we made mistakes. So I think that's, I'm not sure if that has worked. While it's humbling, I'm not sure if it has worked, because if you listen to the ordinary man and woman in the street, they said, we've heard this before. We've heard about the houses, we've heard about the jobs, and it hasn't been delivered. And in the midst of the last 2 days, in the midst of for example, Pravin promising there'll be no load shedding, we have a load shedding. So it's very difficult for them, for the ruling party in this election. But I mean, of course, the shining star for the ruling party is President Ramaphosa. But the rest, it's a very big, it's a steep uphill.
And can then that brand, the brand Ramaphosa, save the ANC, do you think? Can it just help it just push out to a 51%?
I'm not sure. It's a tall task. I think that's the dilemma that the ruling party faces now. That brand Ramaphosa strong on his own, brand ANC, the party, very difficult. And of course, what compromises everything is, while we think that can he fix it, we've had many opportunities to see whether he can fix it. Remember 2019 or 18, he says, send me to go and fix the country, but also send yourself to go fix the country. But then he's had lots of tests along the way. We've had tests, for example, with Mkhize, with the COVID, with the digital vibes scandal, and it took many months to try and resolve that, and that never was resolved. So I'm not sure on his own he can fix the party. I think the party has to fix itself.
Yeah. Now, this is the party, when you talk about the ANC, you talk about Nelson Mandela, you talk about Walter Sisulu, Oliver Tambo, Pixley Kaisakaseme. These were big brands. For someone like me, a political animal, it's, oh, you know, this is amazing. Now, I say to you, when I look and I speak to my mother and to so many other relatives, people of a certain age, you know, that brand means something. It's like saying to someone of a black consciousness outlook, saying Steve Biko or, you know, Robert Sobukwe. These are big brands. Are those brands broken now by what you said, the breaking of the system of our country?
We've had three types of brands. So we've had the great liberation brands, the Mandelas, the Sisulus that you've spoken about, and perhaps they were very idealistic in that era. Then you've got the intervening, if you will, the governing brand, the Mbekis and all those, and then you've got the subsequent one where we are now, who's supposed to carry forward the baton. But I think the earlier brands still remain revered. We still look in awe. That's why we still say, that's why even Cyril, for example, always say, let us go back. I mean, President Ramaphosa always goes back and say, we need to go back to the Mandela values, because he knows that those values meant something and they delivered something and you could trust them. What politicians across board, whether it's ANC, EFF, DA, and any all of them, the one thing they all lack is credibility. And over the past 27 years or so, we have seen what politicians across board, that the one thing they never deliver on is their promises. So, yes, the parties, the leadership brands now are a bit broken. But you do have some sparks. I mean, like I said, President Ramaphosa on his own is a very good and strong brand. But on his own, he cannot save the party at the national level, provincial level, local level, and the main industry. It's
okay.
Too much work to expect from one person.
Yes. Let me ask you about the DA. Now, the DA in 2016 was the party that was saying, you know, we will fix it and so forth. And they saw a huge rise in support here in the city of Johannesburg, elsewhere. And then Mmusi Maimane left, Herman Mashaba left, Phumzile Van Dam left, so many other people left. The racist tag hung on to them. Have they managed to get out of it now, if you look at what happened with the posters in Phoenix and so forth?
I have never seen such an implosion, such a self-inflicted implosion by any party as we've seen with the DA in the last 4 or 5 years. So they inflicted a problem onto themselves, which I'm not sure they'll be able to recover. For me, I think if anybody is going to suffer in these elections, yes, I think the ANC is going to suffer, but I think the DA is going to suffer even more. So I think those younger parties, the Action Essays, perhaps EFF will gain some more than they did before, but certainly the DA, to start with, the DA does not look like the South Africa that they promised. So, and they don't behave like the South Africa that they promised. And they still remain a provincial party rather than a national party. They've imploded, and I don't see the DA doing better than they've done in the past.
Thabeng Kalafeng, it's always fascinating talking to you. Thanks so much. Stay with us as we look at the credibility of the election with elections expert Lulu White.